And thanks to all of your fine congressional delegation that represents you so ably in Washington, D.C., who are friends of mine, too, many of whom are here tonight. I've met so many of your state legislators and senators. I've met your great Supreme Court justices that form a majority. Isn't it great to have a judge who abides by the Constitution and the laws instead of making it up as you go along? I want to introduce my wife, who those of you who haven't met, she's been here all day with my little daughter, who I'd like to also introduce, Hayden, who will turn 4 in a few days, and my wife, Jerry, who I think will make a much better First Lady than Bill Clinton ever would. I want to say thank you to my good friends Spence and Jane Abraham, who've been such good friends for so long and have done so much for this state and this country. Thank them very much. Spence and I kind of started this thing together back in 1994, and we came to the Senate together, and not only was Spence always just about the smartest guy in the room, but he could always make me laugh, and I cherish that. And to this day, he's been close to me and is helping me in this endeavor, and serves such a valuable role, more than one role actually, because if things go downhill in Michigan, I have somebody to blame. So thank you, Spence and Jane, and your children who are here at another table. I've got an opportunity a lot today in the news media and others, to talk about Michigan and answer questions about Michigan and the car business a little bit. I come from a little town in Tennessee, and been living in Nashville most of my adult life. I'm from an automobile state, and I'll tell you one thing that I have known for some time, and that is we're not afraid of competition, but we demand of the folks we're competing with overseas that they open up their markets and quit devaluing their currency. I think that'd be a good starter. And it wouldn't be a bad idea if our federal government here didn't have a tax policy that disadvantages our companies when they're competing overseas. I think I know somebody could do something about that. I never know what you'd like to talk about, what you'd like for me to talk about, what you'd like to hear. I'm thinking back to when I first went to the Senate, and my first speech, I think it was actually on making Congress live under the laws that other people have to live under. It was really a revolutionary concept when we went to the Senate, and I finished my maiden speech, as they call it, and my old Constitution in my pocket, and one of the old-timers who'd been there a while, I won't call any names, but he came up to me and said, "Fred, good speech." I said, "Thank you, sir." He said, "I just have one question." I said, "Yeah? What is that?" I was all prepared. He said, "Was that a real submarine y'all used in Hunt for Red October?" So I got a sense of priorities and what people were interested in as far as I was concerned in the United States Senate from that point. My friends, I come to you tonight as one who has seen his country from a lot of different vantage points. From the factory floor in the little town of Lawrenceburg, Tennessee, where I grew up. Parents who came in off the farm didn't get a chance to go to high school. They went to work instead and raised a very proud boy, proud of them, proud of the standards that they set. And together we kind of worked and borrowed our way through college and law school, and I was able to become an assistant U.S. attorney. I was about 28 years old, I guess. Watergate came along. Howard Baker asked me to go to Washington to be his counsel and serve at his right hand during a pretty tumultuous time as far as our country was concerned. I was 30 years old at the time. Came back, started my law practice. A young woman came in one day and said, I'm chairman of the parole boards of Tennessee. The governor's about ready to fire me because I'm doing the right thing. Come to find out, they were selling pardons and paroles out of the governor's office. To make a long story short, I represented her. He fired her. We sued him. We won. He went to jail. And I got a movie made about it. So they made a movie about it, and I wound up playing myself in the movies, and it was kind of an interesting avocation for someone who'd never had an acting class. Or my friends say I don't have to point that out. It's quite obvious for anybody. But it didn't interfere with my law practice. A couple of times a year, I'd go to wherever they were making a movie. And no, I never lived in Hollywood, so I can't tell you anything about it. But a Senate seat opened up in Tennessee. And you know, every cloud has a silver lining. People were saying, oh no, Al Gore is going to become vice president. I said, yeah, but he ain't going to be Tennessee senator anymore. I am. So I got in my red Chevrolet pickup truck and started driving across the state, talking about the same things that I talk about today. My ideas about what's important in this country haven't changed since that time. We talked about first principles. You know, principles are different than issues. Anybody can come up with a set of stands on particular issues. Principles are the things that you judge issues by. Issues come and go. I've been described as a common sense conservative. I wear that mantle proudly. My mind kind of drifted back when Thad mentioned Russell Kirk was from Michigan. I read not only Conscience of a Conservative, and when I was in college, I read The Conservative Mind. And by the end of my immersion in that, I never thought the same again about fundamental principles and what conservatism was all about. It had to do with the wisdom of the ages. It had to do with things that don't change in this changing world. It had to do with human nature. The fact that we often err, but we're capable of doing wonderful things when we put our mind to it. We talked about the derivation of that. It's so important to our country. The Declaration of Independence, the Constitution of the United States. We are reminded of what this country is all about when we read those documents. We're reminded, first of all, that our laws and rules really come, and rights, at most basic, really come from God and not from any government. They remind us that we are a nation of divided power, not only at the federal level, but between the federal and the state level, based on the notion that not every solution to every problem comes from Washington, D.C. It's all about liberty. It's all about freedom, individual freedom, political freedom, market freedom, and how those things are all woven together. And the notion that a government powerful enough to give everything to you is powerful enough to take anything away from you, and we don't believe in that in this country. And we come from that we come from that with our positions on our issues. And that's what we campaigned on. The need for lower taxes, but not only because it's the right thing to do, but because it generates growth in our economy and less regulation and free markets and a free economy by free people openly competing and freely and fairly competing with one another, trade with other nations. It's not only made us the economic nation that we have become and the greatest nation in the history of the world, but it set an example for anybody that wanted to follow our pattern and emulate us. Nobody's ever applied those principles and the rule of law and come away unsuccessful in the history of the nation. Something that we need to be proud of in this country. So I was able to get elected. And Spence and I came together, and we had been a part of kind of a revolution. We didn't realize it probably when we were on the campaign trail. Clinton had kicked us pretty good a couple of years before. People were kind of down. I think down kind of as a country and down kind of as a party. I see some similarities there. But we apply